Well, now here's your chance. We're going to be in Dallas, Texas, January 11th through the 14th. So no more time for excuses. Just get your ticket. It's an easy flight, and you're going to be able to see 3 Helderburgs in person. You'll be able to see Dieter, the one behind me, BAC, which is another 110, and a very special D90 that's in a fabulous color that you've never seen before. In fact, this color is from Porsche from 1953. So again, mark your calendar and come see us in Dallas, Texas, January 11th through the 14th. Go to helderburg.com to get the details or send us a message. So you have to ask yourself, are you a D90 or a D110 fan? Well, today we're going to talk about Dieter, the D110 by Helderburg. Hi, I'm Paul Potratz with Helderburg, and today we're going to take a look at Dieter, the D110. If you haven't already seen the video, go to helderburg.com, see the video, or go to YouTube and search for it because the video is done extremely well. It seems like everybody loves this Defender. Well, I'll tell you this, I posted a picture of Dieter and it was nothing fabulous. It was just a pretty simple picture of Dieter in the fog, and that picture's been up for about 3 weeks now, and it's had over 700,000 reactions. So I would say that makes this a pretty popular Defender. So let's start with the color. Let's just talk about the color first. And again, anytime I talk about the colors, the vast majority of a Helderburg Defender has a custom mixed color. We don't generally use Land Rover colors, and I'm not saying that Land Rover colors are bad, but they're common. And if you're building a custom Defender, you should have a custom color, a color that really speaks to you, a color that really makes you smile. And that was the case for Amy and Steven. We built this for a couple in Florida, and we talked a lot about color, and we moved all around. Originally, Amy was wanting a burgundy that's also a beautiful color. But I suggested this color, and I even suggested a red interior. Well, I didn't get her to do the red interior, even though she was really close, but we'll get into the interior. So we went with this color, and you have to ask, is it gray? Is it green? What color is it? And this is a color you definitely have to see in person. So I'm going to call it a sand green gray, non-metallic. Don't really have a name for it, need to work on a name for it, but it's a beautiful color in the sense that it has kind of a military feel, but it also has a very elegant feel, and it's not metallic. So I'm going to point that out. One of the things you probably notice is we have the hand-cut louvers on top of the bonnet here. So our guy in the shop, he has an unreal talent, and he hand cuts the louvers in the bonnet. They serve no purpose other than they look good, and that was really, us representing Jaguar, the way Jaguar used to be, like an XK120, XK140 or something like that, or a Bugatti. So it's just really a design cue. So this one is around 3 inches of lift, does have the roll cage, has the Helderburg headlight surrounds with the headlights that I always like to do. It has the bumper that I love, and then it has the bump out, the aircon unit. It is a 300 TDI with a VNT turbo, 3-inch stainless steel exhaust all the way through, a really large intercooler, and it has a custom injection pump, and it also has a custom cylinder head. This truck moves, and it also sounds great. So around 3 inches of lift. It does have the custom Helderburg brakes, 6-piston in the front, 4-piston in the rear with a cross-drilled rotor. It has the proper radius arms, the proper prop shaft, heavy-duty 5-speed manual transmission, and a transfer case that's heavy-duty too. So let's move into the interior because that's where it gets really interesting. The interior speaks luxury. The interior is like an English library. It's like a cigar bar. just the smell of it. I mean, the leather smell is unreal. But let's talk about the colors. It's a black with a saddle brown, and it just looks very luxurious. You'll notice the two-tone, and then of course I reversed the stitching on the black, so it has a nice contrast, and it does have the Helderburg logo on the headrest, as you would expect on any Helderburg. Wood steering wheel, like I normally do. And then as you look across the dash, I did a combination between the black and the saddle brown, so it does a really nice, let's just say, contrast and play on each other. It does have the Apple CarPlay, as everything does. This is the 7-inch screen with the Smith clock, heated seats, 5-speed manual transmission. There's a trick when you do the interiors darker like this, if you like a lot of light in the cabin. And that trick is panoramic roofs. So if you've seen the review on BAC where I had one panoramic roof, well, in Dieter, we did 2 panoramic roofs. So additional glass, which really lights up everything in here. But let's take a look at the back. You'll notice that we did something a little different in the second row than what we did on BAC and what we do on a number of them, and there's a reason for that. Normally what you would see in a Helderburg and a 110 is you would see 2 seats in the rear in the second row and then a center cubby. But Amy has children, more children than 2, so therefore we did 3 seats in the second row, plus you have the 2 center-facing bench seats. But with this center seat, you have the ability to just move it where it comes down, and then you open up this area here. Gives you additional storage. It also lets you see out the back or see what the kids are doing in the back. In my case, I will tell you that in any of my 110s, when I have a couple that visits or 2 couples that visit and we go out to dinner, they generally do not want to sit in the second row. I kid you not. They want to sit in the cargo area because it makes them smile and it makes them feel young again. So that's a beautiful thing about this, that if you got it up, you can't see what kind of crazy antics they're up to, but you can bring it down and now you can join the conversation. So three seats versus 2 seats and a center console. Now let's go to the very rear. And again, you see all the light coming down? I love these panoramic roofs, even though it takes additional fabrication because that's a lot of weight on the roof right now. So starting with the rear cargo door, the inside is covered with leather, and you see the contrast stitching that matches the saddle brown interior. And then if we move to the inside, you're going to see something different too than what we normally do. So I got so excited talking about the cargo area, and I called it center-facing benches. But in this case, we don't actually have center-facing benches. We have center-facing buckets. It's a bigger seat. It gives your tush a little more room, and then the back is also taller too. But we have 4 of them, and they also have 4 seat belts. You know I probably need an intervention when I'm actually dreaming about Defenders. Today, I'm going to tell you about BAC, the Helderburg 110. Hi, I'm Paul with Helderburg, and today we're going to talk about BAC, the D110. So honest truth here, I had a dream about building something that was a little different than the norm. And what I mean by different than the norm, normally what you see us build is a 110 with a roll cage and could have lights, and of course it's lifted like this one. But I think I spent way too much time watching some James Bond, and the thought was, why not create something that you would see in a James Bond movie? But why not create something that would not only be the villain Defender, but it would also be the James Bond and kind of take on an Aston Martin type feel to it? Well, I think that's what I've done, but you can be the judge. So this build is a very interesting color. It's a beautiful color, and it's going to be hard for me to really show you what it is on photos or in video. This is definitely a color you need to see in person. However, that's what everyone says when they see a Helderburg in person. They're like, oh wow, the pictures in the video just don't do it justice. But we try our hardest to make sure we do. This color is an Arctic gray. The reason it's an Arctic gray is because, yeah, it's gray, but it's blue. it's an interesting color. It's a non-metallic color, but depending on the light, it can take on a little more of the blue hue, or it can take the gray. And then if it's kind of dark in the evening, it goes very dark. It almost looks like a charcoal. I won't say black, but it gets pretty close. So this 110 is, it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed driving it, and it's gonna be sad to see it go. So some elements that you'll see on it, for example, the engine, it is a 300 TDI. That's probably one of my favorite engines because it does not have a computer in it. And they just go, they're bulletproof. That's the bottom line. Easily 500,000 miles without anything needing to be done to it. And then I've seen many of these 300 TDIs with 1 million miles on them. So they just go and go. And they're very fuel efficient, 28 to 32 miles per gallon. So I mentioned no roll cage. So I left the roll cage off because the whole idea was, how do I create that sleek look that you would see like with James Bond in an Aston Martin or the villain vehicle. How I got the villain into it, of course, is the lift. Approximately 3 inches of lift on this, has the proper radius arms, it has Fox shocks, it has iBox springs, and then moving back to the motor, oh boy, I'm hopping all around. It does have an enlarged intercooler, it has a VNT turbo, it has a 3-inch stainless steel exhaust system all the way through, and it's been re-geared. So it moves down the highway very nice. Roll cages, I like them, but it was just, this time I said, I'm gonna skip it. But there's something very interesting about the interior in this one, and I think I just need to show you that. You see the exterior, you see how beautiful it is, but let's take a look at the interior now. So I teased you about the interior, let's just talk about the color first, and I know your eyes are looking all around right now. But it's a biscuit and a black. And the reason that I say biscuit, because that's the best way to describe this color. Let's just say it's a medium beige with a black contrast. And then of course I did the biscuit stitch on the black. So that's beautiful. I mean, it's definitely stunning, but maybe you'll notice something in here that it's really bright in this cabin, and I'll show you in a minute why. But let's draw your attention to something that you've never seen on a Helderburg before. And it's, I had a client come in and he saw this head unit here, this audio system, and he said, wow, that's the size of an iPad. And I said, in fact, it is. So it's about 11 inches. It's large, but it also has a lot of power backing it. It has multiple speakers. It has an amplifier. It's a great sounding stereo. And multiple cameras too. So yeah, backup camera, but you can also do front camera too. So don't know what you would use the front camera for, but it's there. Heated seats, my typical wood steering wheel, and then you'll probably notice a new accent that we're doing now too, as far as the indicators for the heat, the defrost, the fresh air are all done. They're metal and epoxy. And that's one of the things that I love. I don't like plastic. So anything plastic is wrapped in leather. And a lot of the things you touch, even from like the window cranks, billet aluminum. So I just think it's nice to touch metal whenever you're operating something, especially in a Helderburg. I mean, would you expect anything less? So let's move to the back because I mentioned a lot of light in the cabin, and I'm going to show you why. So on the rear of a Helderburg, you always notice the rear corner brackets that are the galvanized metal. Reason I do that is simply, well, I like it, but I'm also showing you that this complete vehicle, everything was disassembled. The body came off the frame was completely disassembled, and then we built it back piece by piece. So that's why I do this, that's why I don't paint them. And it also just gives a little bit of contrast of color. It's just interesting. That's not something you see on a new Defender or any vehicle on the road, so it's different, and it says bespoke. Notice the bumper, it's not the typical bumper that we've done on a number of them. So this is the rear corner bumper protector system. It's basically a step. It cleans it up versus the typical NAS bumper with the receiver hitch. We can add a receiver hitch on this, but didn't really need one. I just wanted a very clean bumper on the rear. So let's take a look on the inside now. and it's going to be a little different than what you've normally seen. Probably the first thing you're noticing is the custom mahogany Helderburg floor that we've done, and then the mahogany side tracks, and then the center facing benches. So gives it a really warm feel. The other thing you'll probably notice is just, again, how much light is happening. And that's because of the massive panoramic roof that's here. It doesn't open, but it definitely creates a lot of light in the cabin and just gives it an extra touch. It lightens up the cabin, but it gives you the opportunity to go with a dark interior, a dark headliner, so it creates that mood. Talking about mood, this is a first for us. We have LED accent lighting. Basically what we're doing is we're lighting the headliner with a warm color LED lighting. You can really see it at night. It's not real bright in the day. It's actually hard to see during the day. But at night, it definitely gives that mood. LED lighting is also under the mahogany wood strips, which runs down the side of the wheel wells. And then we also have a mahogany wood strip that's running in the second row. LED lighting under that also. And then that big iPad screen that I mentioned earlier, that's over 11 inches, it also has LED lighting behind it. So this is a first, and I'm sure it won't be a last, because it definitely evokes a mood. You've probably been watching Helderburg Defenders for a few years. Well, now here's your chance. We're going to be in Dallas, Texas, January 11th through the 14th. So no more time for excuses. Just get your ticket. It's an easy flight, and you're going to be able to see 3 Helderbergs in person. You'll be able to see Dieter, the one behind me, BAC, which is another 110, and a very special D90 that's in a fabulous color that you've never seen before. In fact, this color is from Porsche from 1953. So again, mark your calendar and come see us in Dallas, Texas, January 11th through the 14th. Go to helderburg.com to get the details or send us a message.